It's hard because you can cherry pick objective facts from articles that are posted in the mainstream media.
Well,
you can pick things out that are false from things like Infowars and Breitbart.
Yeah, it's true.
But it just has to be rationally evaluated.
You got to look at everything. Yeah, you can't just take Infowars at face value either. I love them. I think they're giving us the truth, but I check into their stuff as much as I can. A lot of the big problem is when they have a really true story. A lot of times the MSM folks will hunt down anything that validates what they've said. They do not want people seeing that other perspective or the evidence behind it. They'll block it, they'll shadow ban it, they'll make it so you have to use some obscure phrase from within the document you're looking for in order to find it on Google. And it makes it hard for people of an average intelligence to find that information, and they want it that way. They want it so that even if you start to have an inkling that this is BS, you don't have the ability to find out why. They're doing that on purpose, and it's horrible. Not only that, we were talking about how people are unable to articulate it, and they're just attacking Trump at every level because they don't have an argument to stand on outside of emotion. And I had a perfect example. This guy I used to know in Colorado, when he started out in the scene, he started getting big because he was pushing all the political narrative buttons. He was like, oh, I'm on this narrative. Oh, I'm on this narrative. And they shot this video about him being Hunter S. Thompson and murdering people from the Westboro Baptist Church, or anybody who didn't say that the gay lifestyle was excellent, as though this is something that is imbued with people and they are, it's like being born a certain skin color or ethnicity, right? Like saying if you believe that you should be killed and all this kind of stuff. And so
they all try to latch on to the black victim narrative.
Yeah,
because black people at some level do have a legitimate gripe.
They do, yeah.
Like they were enslaved in this country.
We stole them from another country, brought them over here.
But also, there's a part of the argument where white Western, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant culture ended slavery.
Yeah, well,
for civilization, but. Yeah. Nobody's on the level of black people in this country as far as like historical.
Yeah. Well, maybe the Native Americans, but certainly not the GLBT community.
They fought back a lot more than black people.
The Native Americans did. Yeah,
and they were warring within each other.
They weren't kidnapped. Yeah, and also there's Native American tribes that were cannibals. There were some that were pretty nice people and did good things for the environment and had a communal structure and worked with other tribes. And there were tribes that were out there living in the mountains who would attack others, steal their women, rape them, kill them, murder. And there's good and bad in them just as there are in white people. Mm-hmm. And another big thing with identity politics is picking an ethnicity and deciding that ethnicity is unblemished, period. How are we doing on the camera? Are we out of battery? Good, we're not.
We're good.
All right. So yeah, part of identity politics is making an ethnicity spotless based on the ethnicity. It's the exact opposite of what Martin Luther King said, that people will be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. And they are judging people by the color of their skin in the SJW movement rather than the content of their character. They're doing that, and it's horrible. So you have these people who are equating a sexual proclivity or fetish, which becomes dominant in lifestyle progression, as the same as being enslaved and kidnapped and put to work in a field and whipped and chained, and it's not the same. And there's a reason some of the black community, the BLM folks, in Portland at least, they were clashing with Antifa, and that's because there's such hypocrisy.
Well, there's a hypocrisy of degree. Because any transgression by someone who's a white male gets universalized throughout the white male community.
Right.
And that just
all white people are bad because Jim Bob.
Just without thought, like because Trump elected, I don't know if my children can be friends with white people.
I saw that article; it made me very angry. I was just like, what?
And that immediate universalization is okay because it's white people, and they're not going to be like mass revolting against you. But if they're just going to argue with you and be like, that's kind of racist, bro. They're not going to like riot in the streets.
But then on the other side of the coin, when you got hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah.
Right? All of a sudden, he is an underprivileged
all white
minority.
cops are guilty.
Yeah.
Because of that white cop.
And any underprivileged minority that does something bad didn't do anything bad because of their status as a race. They did it because they've been put down by the white man. They couldn't help it. They were pushed into that position, and so they acted extreme. And that is, sometimes, yes.
Even the slightest transgression can be chalked up to like subconscious racism.
Yeah.
And like you didn't even know how oppressive and patriarchal and racist you were being, right?
Yeah, it's in your DNA. You should apologize just for your
It's original sin.
Yeah, original sin based on race now, and it is a it's a reinvention of that puritanical BS of these.
But there's such an imbalance where like it would be horribly racist to attribute some kind of quality to like black people for their crime rate.
Yeah.
For how often they commit crimes. Oh my God! How dare you judge them based on their oppressed position in society and how bad they have it.
How dare you
it's like
call facts as you see them.
There's a certain like level of personal responsibility that goes along with how destructive your society is.
Right.
How destructive your community is. Like, it's not that poverty breeds crime. It's that crime breeds poverty. Like,
that's a good point.
If you are acting on that level of criminality, well, how likely is it that an entrepreneur is going to want to build a business in your neighborhood?
That's a fact. Yeah, they're going to let that thing because it's a losing venture, and it's going to be a downward spiral.
Yeah, and so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you have that belief.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I had never thought of it that way. Yeah.
I get that from Stephen Molyneux because it's like there's also a thing in the black community where you're way more likely to hit your kids. You're way more likely to have a single mom. Yeah. But you can't talk about any decisions that people make that may lead to negative outcomes.
But meanwhile, that's
it's all going to be externally oppressed on them.
Yeah, it's all the white people's fault. Meanwhile, in the white community, if a white person does one thing bad, again, it's all it's BS is what it is, and it's a socialist tactic. Instead of the haves and the have-nots, it's the socially unjustified and the socially just, if you will. Instead of rich haves versus have-nots, it's privileged versus unprivileged is what they've changed it to, and it's just it's a reinvention of the same thing. It's designed to break people apart and make it impossible for us to see the real issues.
You clearly haven't recognized your privilege.
I haven't checked my privilege since the first time I heard that phrase.
I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up. This is little stuff too, like who are these people reading motivation books? If you got the motivation to get up off your ass and go to the library, you're already motivated. What do you need? Tell the librarian, go fuck yourself. I got it.
It's true. He hit that truth and he managed to keep doing it. Yeah, he was good. I think he had probably about 10 hours of solid stuff throughout his career. What do you think? How much time would you think he had total? It was at least 10, probably 12 or 13, honestly, maybe more. Yeah,
a lot of hour specialist. He supposedly, that's how I do it, is I write every bit out verbatim word for word. And then it does grow once I get on stage.
Yeah.
And just little transitions and stuff, but writing like that, I really like. And one of his thing that he would do when he would write, he would type it up sober, most of it, and then punch it up high.
Oh.
So he would the initial expression of the idea and formation, he would do sober just to get that fluidity of expression.
Then get stoned and be like, well, this would be funny, and this would be funny.
Yeah, and then you get a different angle on what you just wrote.
Yeah.
And so I have been doing 2-hour writing sessions. I aim for to write for 2 hours a day. I've done 2 hours stand-up, 2 hours script, but it just gets to a point of diminishing returns where you start to if
you write 10,000 words,
you get close to an hour, and you got an hour and 20 minutes left, and you're pulling up the internet, and just checking shit out of nowhere. You subconsciously, you don't even realize you're doing it, and and then you're 10 minutes deep in that, and you're I stopped writing.
Yeah.
But I like splitting it up like that now, where I'm just like look at it sober in the morning, flesh an idea out as much as I can, and then look at it stoned later that night and be like, ooh,
it's not a bad idea.
I've
had a little bit of that. I just like giving myself time between, I like to write something down, then give myself time enough to forget about it, and then come back to it and look at it again. And I guess weed would expedite that process because it gives you the short-term memory loss, and plus it gives you that fuzzy little, woohoo, what's going on here? But yeah, coming back to it and giving it another look. I do that with all my fiction kind of stuff. I have trouble writing comedy in a disciplined way. I usually record it on my phone, or if I think of something funny, I'll jot it down real quick, and then I'll write them all down at the end of a week or something, and then take the funny stuff and sandwich it between my established stuff in an open mic to see if it works. Like that whole dandelion bit I did with the manual training and whatnot. I thought of that really quick, and I tried it out and at multiple places, and I switched around the order of it. Sometimes I started with translate, then I went to manual, automatic, transmission, transition. I found it works better if I do manual, automatic, transmission, and then I do translate, transition. Sorry, I don't know why that's on. And I start with another one-liner into it, and trying it out and whatnot has helped. But for me with writing, a lot of it ends up being I have just disciplined myself to whenever I have a funny thought to make that the priority is getting that written down or recorded somewhere. And then I can forget about it and come back to it later and see if it was really funny. I have gotten a few bits out of sitting down and trying to write a joke. But a lot of times when I try, humor escapes me. A lot of my humor just comes naturally, so I try and catch those natural bits. Like here's a stupid one that came to me the other day. Just because I'm from the state of Wyoming doesn't mean I'm not progressive. Don't you know Wyoming is the most progressive state? We are the first state in the union to allow women the right to vote. We've regretted it ever since. I haven't done that one on stage yet. And I'm being tongue-in-cheek there, but that's a funny that's a turn, you know. It makes a connection, then twists it on you a little bit. I'm going to do that on stage here soon and see how it goes in LA. I know it'll hit with a conservative audience. I know it'll hit with most people who are liberal off stage. But there's also something with an audience where a bunch of guys with hot girls in the room, if they hear a joke like that, they're going to be like, they're going to not laugh if they think it might embarrass them. So part of getting to that joke would be doing other jokes that push the boundaries slightly, just heat the water up on that frog a little bit so it doesn't know it's boiling, if you will, and then Bill Hicks them with that kind of a joke. You've got to slide it in. And the leftists have been doing this to the mainstream for years. You pointed it out when you said that George Carlin here would make your Catholic folks laugh. To a degree, that's what was going on. Now, from an Uber perspective, it was the top-down puppeteers doing it, not George Carlin himself. I don't think he had that aim in mind. But people who were booking, people who were giving this guy airtime, people who were playing chess with money, you know, the Bill Gateses of the world.
I just feel like George Carlin was a baseline.
Well, I'm not saying anything against him. I'm just using his example.
He looked at the metaphysics of religion and made fun of that.
Yeah, and you know, there's some points he made that were pretty good. I think some were based on an inaccurate understanding of the reality, but I think for the most part, he said some things that are worth considering. Because a lot of what happens with religion is it gets outside of the spiritual truth that's written in the defining articles, the scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, or whatever is the basis of that religion, and falls into traditionalist repetition rather than anything spiritual, any following of the truths or the admonitions. You know, instead of love your neighbor as yourself, it's like love your neighbor as yourself unless they're not in your church. And that's just not, that doesn't work. You know, you see these church ladies cussing somebody out for having a cigarette or whatnot. It's like, what are you doing? That guy's never going to come to church now. He's never going to try and find God. He's going to think, oh, you're a stuffy old bitch, and I don't want to deal with any stuffy old bitches. And Carlin pointed out a lot of that stuff, and he did a good service. But then I think he pointed out some stuff that went into, it wasn't quite true. It was from the perspective of someone who hasn't really looked into this as a believer would. It's from an outside perspective. And so it resonates with the audience, but it doesn't describe the truth of that which is believed. Like, you know, a lot of those jokes about Old Testament God being an evil, vindictive guy have to do with a misunderstanding of what was going on pre-Christ, pre-flood, according to the narrative, which, you know, touched on it earlier. The Nephilim, the fallen angel DNA, the human DNA. We know what happened at Roswell. I know what happened at Roswell. I'm pretty sure. But you see what I mean? So instead of that,
do not mention the flood to me again. You're triggering me with the flood. I'm so triggered, man.
So it's a big part.
It's
a big part of
trying to match logic and faith. It's not working.
I tell you what, man. There's a lot of logic involved with the catastrophe.
What you do well is you prick holes in the establishment narrative that are interesting.
Oh, thank you.
And so I'm like, okay, they can't give a legitimate citation on the carbon dating thing.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm like,
why?
Please, somebody, if you're out there with your links and your documents, please send us some verified carbon dating facts that contradict the young Earth creationist theory.
Well, and I'll sit down. We will read them on air. I will say what I think about it, and whether or not we have a creationist narrative that already disputes that. And if it's something I haven't seen before and don't understand, I'll say something like this: well, I didn't know that. I'm going to look into it and come back at you next week. That's what I'm going to do. And if I can't refute it, so far, the only thing that would make me believe in the deep time evolutionary narrative.
My thing is, you poke those holes in the establishment narrative, but the theory that you're positing in place of it also has
I understand.
holes that can be pricked.
So far, there haven't been any pricks.
I'm sticking my prick in that hole.
You're trying to get. You're gonna try. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
You're making metaphysical suppositions.
Yes, indeed.
They're not valid. I cannot let it stay.
There's a lot of.
I can't wait till Igor's on the podcast.
Oh, I know. He needs to get on with us. We would have so much fun. He'd be throwing towels at us.
What is he doing? He's like washing the feet of some director.
I'm gonna be a movie maker someday, right? Fajir. Yes, that is right. You wash my feet and then afterwards you wash those old movie tins. We don't use film anymore, but they need to be cleaned for our tourism tours through our studio.
Scrub them.
We miss you.
Scrub them, Igor.
Scrub them with all of your college might. Give it the old
you
college
can do
try.
better than that, Igor. Como put muscle into it. Yeah.
This is called life. We miss you. We miss you. We want to see you. Hopefully this next week. Isn't it Thanksgiving this week?
Igor should give some thanks to us and come and help us shoot a sketch.
Yeah, Igor, listen, if you're not going back to where you come from, we won't say it on air, for Thanksgiving, we need to do another sketch, sucker. We need your collegiate acumen when it comes to editing and your greater resources in sound and lighting, etc.
We're tracking the bigot foot.
We're going to track the bigot foot. That's the next. Crocodile Dundee on the trail of the bigot foot. Oh look!
I can be your tour guide.
He's got a swastika in his footprint.
I know what he's worried about. Here.
Okay. Oh, there's bigot foots all over this.
Oh, please. I'm wonderful.